Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. This article comes to you guys from Yahoo Finance. I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So in the first part of this video, I'll be talking about the if Verizon will beat the estimates again in this up-and-coming earnings report. And then more in the second half of the video, I'll be talking about what I saw in terms of Verizon equipment over the weekend in LA at the Hollywood Walk, in Anaheim, Orange County. So I'll be talking about that in the second half of the video. So will Verizon beat estimates again in its next earnings report? So that's very interesting because I don't think they're going to beat it as per se that they will come in positive, but I think they might not come in as negative as some of the estimates and previews are saying. So some of the estimates and previews are saying that I've seen that Verizon will lose close to 200,000 customers in Q1. So they may have less of a loss. I still think they come in with a loss because Q1 by history is their weakest quarter, but they will still have a loss. It's not like they can turn it around to the point where they will come in positive. I just don't see it. There were just too many negatives that were reported to me as it comes to market share from a national perspective. And then they did raise pricing towards the back end of Q1, which likely cost some additional loss. Now, most of that I feel will move into the second quarter, so we might see some losses in the second quarter, but churn should be up a tad bit in Q1, and that should have resulted in a loss in Q1 for Verizon. Maybe not as bad, so they might beat that estimate where they still come in at a loss, but not as high as estimates. But they will still, in my opinion, take a loss nonetheless for Q1. Just not much to really go off of. Verizon says the My Plan is working, but I just don't see it working to that degree where it's like, oh, they're going to do 200,000-300,000 positive ads every quarter. It's good from an optionality perspective, as I mentioned before, and that's where maybe Verizon had beat the competition to the punch, where you can pick and choose what you may like in terms of your perks and the value. But I just don't see people busting down Verizon doors wanting to move from another company to this plan. So that's where I feel where Verizon is kind of disconnecting. The plan and the concept itself is good, but is this what's necessarily needed to get people into Verizon doors? That's the big question. That's the really big question, and that's something that Verizon has to figure out. And maybe that isn't the answer, right? Putting Sampath and moving him to the CEO of Consumer Group and introducing the My Plan. And maybe right now at this current time with the way the economy is going, and the My Plan just might not be the answer. It might have been a good concept. It might have been a good idea from a an AI perspective, putting that into play, the optionality where you can just literally, hey, this month I'm gonna do these two, and then next month I'm gonna do these two. But it just might not be the right answer for Verizon's problem. So what I've seen, just to start the second half of the video, what I saw over this weekend, so I did not test Verizon, but I would have to say Verizon likely would have performed quite well. I saw lots of C-band on sites, lots of millimeter wave around Disney, around Crypto Arena. I saw a lot of that. Also, one thing that I did notice too, T-Mobile from a macro perspective was just far denser than anything that I had seen from Verizon, and especially AT&T. Like in some of these, like in the area that I was in yesterday in Beach Boulevard, that's a long boulevard. I mean, you can go up and down that thing for miles and still be on the same boulevard. So I saw just a lot of T-Mobile sites. I saw Verizon sites, but not as many as T-Mobile's. And AT&T was, oh man, the site spacing. I'm hoping that I missed some, and I'll check Cell Mapper as well. Maybe, AT&T had a lot of camouflaged hidden rooftop sites, but man, AT&T did not have a lot of towers in this area. And the towers that I did see for AT&T did not have C-band or DoD in this area. So they got work to do. They got a lot of work to do. And I only saw C-RAN for AT&T really in the Disney area. That's the only area that I really saw C-RAN for AT&T. I saw millimeter wave there, a lot of it for Verizon. But in the area that I filmed yesterday around the Buena Park by the not, I think it's Knott's Berry Farm, Verizon had one macro with C-band on it. That's all I really saw. I didn't see like any small cells of theirs. I didn't see, multiple macros. T-Mobile has multiple macros in this area. Going up and down the boulevard, they have those, like I mentioned, they have the camouflaged rooftop sites. Plenty of them. Just great density for the area. So I assuming the market share in this area is kind of lopsided, and likely it's T-Mobile that has a majority of it. And that's why maybe Verizon and AT&T haven't felt the need to build additionally. Now that does change more as you get closer to LA and LAX, but still, you can notice the difference in the deployments. And I'll check that once I get home and review further. But man, AT&T's site spacing was horrendous. If it in case is what I saw, pretty horrendous. So a lot of times in this area, especially indoors, you're probably on 1 to 2 bars on AT&T. Like bad. So that's what I expect. Like on the side that I'm staying at, the hotel, I only saw a T-Mobile site. I didn't see any Verizon sites. I didn't see any AT&T sites. So likely lower RSRP for Verizon and AT&T, but that's likely just in correlation with, possibly, like I mentioned, lower market share for Verizon and AT&T, and T-Mobile having the majority bulk of the market share in this part of, the Orange County, the Anaheim. That's likely what I feel the result is of that. But still, there's work to do on the networking side. T-Mobile was rock solid. And I'll make another summary video of that. They were rock solid. N41 on all sites. Likely, my thinking, a lot of keep sites. A lot of keep sites that T-Mobile was able to convert. They likely had a lot of towers just anyway, even as a standalone before the merger. T-Mobile had pretty high share in this market, so they likely already had a lot of great density for the market, but that just got further enhanced with the Sprint merger, and they're working through that. There are probably still some sites that are not converted yet, which we've seen on a national scale, but just comparing the two, Verizon far more dense in LA directly, which is, I think, about 40 minutes or so from here, maybe more. They're more dense there. LAX, the surrounding areas, Verizon far more dense. AT&T a little more dense too. I saw some additional sites. I came in at night, so this time I'll be traveling to LAX in the daytime, so I'll be able to see more sites, identify like mid-band and stuff. But just from the little bit that I saw, AT&T is behind on the mid-band deployment a lot. I'm hoping that it gets better throughout the year. I would say likely the second half of the year is when that really ramps up for them. They're usually CapEx loaded in the back half for wireless. But man, I didn't think that AT&T was going to be this far behind in such a volume of a market, if you will, on mid-band deployment. Verizon much further along than AT&T, and T-Mobile just, the head start, it really shows. They have it on every site now. So the head start, the 2-year head start, and now being, this month is the 4-year anniversary of the merger. I mean, it really shows in the deployments, and now the backhaul scaling for T-Mobile, true multi-gig, seeing 600, 700, 800 over a gig down, like more consistently than ever before. Then you got 180 megahertz of N41 across the market. It's just a beautiful performing network. So those are just my thoughts on Verizon from what I saw. The Santa Monica Pier, Verizon had some equipment there too. They likely performed great. And in the areas where you did have millimeter wave, they were, I'm 100% sure they were the fastest there. There's just no beating the millimeter wave speed. 800 megahertz, 10 gig backhaul on those sites. It's just unbeatable. But still, T-Mobile still performed well on the Pier 2, 7, 8, 900 gigs or megabits I saw. And that's, like I said, for the average consumer, if they got a good deal, that's enough for them. It's going to be very hard for Verizon or AT&T in that case to get some of those customers to leave T-Mobile, because T-Mobile has earned their loyalty, respect, and they've built a good enough network. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.